Started? Ravi? So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another day, or I would say yet another day of the Unbreakable Challenge. So, as all of you know, today is our 12th day, and we are also on the second day of Geography. And today we are going to be dealing with Geomorphology and also Oceanography. Now, when it comes to Geomorphology and Oceanography, you know, it's very hard to predict the questions, as in the case of climatology as well. You know, in 2024, they had asked about the forge and what are the usefulness of it, or what are the benefits of it. And we could hardly write any points such as tourism or any other points. So even in the case of oceanography as well, mostly the questions deal with ocean currents, but then also in case of it, they tend to be unpredictable at times. But then the two most important topics that you need to focus on geomorphology and oceanography is that in case of geomorphology, you need to learn about the different mountain ranges, be it the fold mountains, be it all the mountain ranges. You need to know the map, the world map regarding the same, where Himalayas are, where Andes are, where Appalachian are, all these things you need to know, the factors influencing it. You need to know about earthquakes, all the different factors of earthquakes, how are different landforms formed, such as how were the Himalayas formed, how were the southeastern islands formed. So you need to know about all these. And when it comes to oceanography, mostly focus on the ocean currents, okay? So when we compare the last 10 years, more than 3 questions have been asked from ocean currents alone. So try to make a one-pager note regarding ocean currents. Also try to make a one-pager note regarding the world mountains and also all the different mountains out there. Now, coming on to today's questions. Now, these questions are pretty simple, okay? We'll just hardly go through what to write on the body part. Rather, we'll be focusing more on what are the introductions and the different conclusions that you can write. Now, previously, for the first 3 days, I hope I had given you a beautiful answer key, right? So we'll be following the same method because it's easy for me to forward you the answer key. Also, I'll provide the model answer as well, written by all of you, but then I'll also provide the answer key starting from today, because it's very easy for me to actually communicate all the keywords that you need to put if I provide the answer key. So these are the questions. You have 2 15-marker questions and 3 10-marker questions. So you can complete this paper in 45 minutes. Okay. So take 45 minutes because we have 2 15-markers and we have 3 10-marker questions. So pause the video, mute me, and you can start writing. Now, what to write on all these questions? So first one, briefly mention the alignment of major mountain ranges of the world and explain the impact of local weather conditions with examples. So here, introduction, you can mention about the different mountain ranges of the world. You can mention about the Himalayas, you can mention about the Andes, all these mountain ranges you can mention, or you can mention about its formation due to continental and the oceanic crust, the convergence, or the tectonic plates, or the movement of tectonic plates. For these reasons, we have different mountain ranges which occurred in the world. And also, coming to the body part, first what you need to do, since it's a 15-marker question, in the first, draw a world map and mention what are the different mountain ranges. So you can draw the world map and you can mention the Himalayas, you can mention about the Andes, you can mention about Atlas, you try to mention about all the other different mountain ranges. And then, what is the second body part? Mention the alignment of major mountain ranges would be the second body part. Now, what is the alignment of major mountain ranges? It can be north to south alignment, such as in case of Andes, let's say this is South America. This is a north to south alignment, right? Andes is going on the coastal region, right? But when it comes to Himalayas, it is from east to west alignment. So you go for north to south alignment, east to west alignment. You can mention about the coastal regions such as Andes, Western Ghats. So try to go for north-south alignment, east-west alignment, alignments of the coastal regions, and any other different alignment that you can come up with. So that would be your first body part. Mention also examples regarding them, and also mention the impact on local weather conditions. Now, how does it impact the local weather conditions? You can mention orographic effect, rain shadow regions, all the other different things. Also, you can mention about the rivers which originate from the glaciers, such as Ganga, Yamuna, and all the different regions, and the impact that it brings also. Try to generate at least 7 to 8 points regarding the same. So go for rainfall, go for temperature, go for attitude difference, and go for rivers, and all these other factors that you can bring up with the same. Also, when you mention them, try to substantiate with a lot of examples, such as you can mention the Aravalli range. You can mention about the Delhi pollution due to the Aravalli range, Himalayas. Try to mention all these points, okay? Weather, pollution, rivers. So you can. Now, how do you conclude it? Conclusion can be provided a general level 1 conclusion, such as mountain ranges are an important part and they play a significant role in the weather conditions. Also, when you go for level 2 condition, level 2, try to go for conservation element. Okay, let's see if a question comes regarding Western Ghats. You can go for conservation elements such as Kasturi Rangan report, Gadgil report. If a question comes regarding the Himalayas, you can go for the Hindu Kush coalition, right, which is a part of coalition by India, China, Nepal, and Pakistan. Also, try to go for different conservation methods, okay? Then the second question we'll discuss in detail. I'll provide you a lot of keywords which you can provide. Now, second one, explain the formation of thousands of islands in Indonesia and also Philippines, archipelagos. So it's a 10-marker question. So it's very simple to answer this question. First, you mention about the different, mention about Indonesia and also Philippines and the island groups. Provide a very general introduction regarding the Indonesian, Philippines, and also the Southeast Asian islands. Then what do you need to do? You should draw a map regarding the same. Draw a map regarding Southeast Asia, Borneo, Brunei, Malaysia, and also Indonesia and the different islands which is there. So you draw the figure regarding the different islands. Then what do? Explain the formation. So formation would be the only body part here. So you have to mention different things, such as you can mention about the coral islands out there. You can mention about the volcanic eruptions. You can mention about the Pacific Ring of Fire. You can mention about the submarine mountains. So try to mention at least 6 to 7 points regarding all the islands, which all the events or even the everything that led to the formation of all these different kinds of islands. And also regarding conclusion, you can either go for the conservation element. You can mention a contemporary example regarding the recent volcano eruption in Bali. So therefore we need sustainable tourism. You can also mention about the tourism, okay? Even though these islands are very beautiful, these should be conserved and sustainable tourism should be there. You can go for sustainable development goal, life on land. You can go for sustainable tourism. You can go for different things, conservation of these islands, conservation of animals, or let's say you can say these are one of the most biological hotspot regions, such as orangutans in Borneo and other things in different coral reefs, and this should be conserved. So try to go for the conservation element as well. Now third one, I'll explain all these in detail. Just for the brief of now body part, I'm just very briefly saying this. So what are the forces that influence the ocean currents? Describe their role in fishing industry. So here also you have very explicitly mentioned 2 body parts here. So first one, regarding the introduction, mention about the ocean currents. You can mention what are the ocean currents, because it's very hard to provide a contemporary example regarding the same, right? So go for a general introduction regarding the ocean currents. Now what do? You draw a world map. You draw a world map and you mention all the major ocean currents out there. So after the introduction, draw a world map, a figure, and mention all the ocean currents out there. Now first body part, what are the different factors that influence the ocean currents? You know, the winds, salinity, curvature of the earth, coriolis force. So try to mention at least 6 to 7 points and describe their role in fishing industry. You know, right? The salinity plays a major role. When the cold and ocean currents come together, it is one of the most productive areas. So try to mention at least 4 to 5 points regarding the same. Now, conclusion also, you can go for conservation. You can go for the conservation of fishing industries. You can mention in the name of international organizations. You can mention a lot of things, okay? So I'll discuss in detail what are the things that you need to mention after it, after discussing all these questions. Now, fourth one, critically evaluate the various resources of oceans which can be harnessed to meet the resource crisis of the world. Now, this is also a 10-mark question. But then here, you have 3 body parts and you need to limit it in 150 words, which is the significant challenge here. So critically evaluate the various resources of the oceans. So various resources of the oceans would be one of the body part, which can be harnessed to meet the resource crisis of the earth should be the first body part. And since the word is critically evaluate, you need to also mention the challenges. You need to also mention the challenges while we excavate or we take all these ocean resources. Now, first of all, mention about the resource crisis of the world in the introduction. Okay, due to the resource crisis in the world, such as the shortage of coal, such as the shortage of all these resources, we are now shifting towards oceans for our resources. So either try to mention about a very general introduction regarding the ocean resources and write the first body part why about the resource crisis in the world right now, or else in the introduction try to mention about the resource crisis and try to come up with the ocean has been total for the resources of the future. Now mention about the various resources. Now various resources can be anything, right? It can be oil, it can be fishing, it can be seagrass, it can be the polymetallic nodules. Try to mention all these, at least 7 to 8 points you need to mention. And after that, the question, since the keyword is or the directive is critically evaluate, what do you need to do? You need to mention what are the challenges in the extraction of these resources. So you have to mention the challenges associated with the same. And in the conclusion, what do you need to do? You need to provide a way forward on how we can sustainably source these resources. Okay, so the conclusion should be a sustainable model of conclusion, such as providing a conservation point of view regarding the same when we extract these resources. Now the fifth question, as always, I leave it to you because I won't be mentioning that. Now, what are the consequences of spreading dead zones? Now, always such a term comes, you need to mention about the same, right? So since a question regarding dead zones, you need to mention what dead zones are. You can draw a global map, then mention where are the dead zones, such as the Gulf of Mexico, some of the areas in Pacific. You can mention about the dead zones, and also in the Arabian Sea, there also a dead zone there. So draw a world map, mention about the dead zones. And now, what are the consequences of spreading dead zones? You need to mention about the consequences. Now, since we mentioned about the consequence, what also should you provide? You also need to provide the way forward or how to stop the spreading of dead zones. That would be your second body part. And the conclusion can also be the conservation elements, different conservation efforts taken by the governments, such as the great cleanup. You can mention cleaning up the Great Pacific garbage. So you can mention all these points, okay? Now, I'll detailedly explain what you need to write along with the different keywords. Try to stay on the video because this is going to be really good, because I have included a lot of keywords that you can introduce in your questions, introduce in your answers, by the way. So firstly, one of the things, when you write the world map, so when you draw the figure of the world map, try to put in a little more effort, okay? As you can see here, one of the students has actually drawn the world map here, and it doesn't look like anything, okay? Here, he or she have drawn about North Africa and South Africa, South America, then in Africa is there, then some kind of Asia is there, then he or she has drawn about the Australian. So try to be, learn to draw the world map and learn to draw the Indian map, okay? These are one of the 2 important maps that we draw in Indian geography. So the first question, briefly mention the alignment of major mountain ranges of the world and explain their impact. So you can mention, since we can't introduce a contemporary element to the same, try to mention some of the mountain ranges. So mountain ranges like the Himalayas in Asia, Andes in South Africa, Rockies in North America, Alps in Asia are not just prominent geographical zones, but they also affect major climatic influences. You can also mention that in the introduction as well. Now, Go for the mountain ranges. You have Rockies, Andes, Atlas, Alps, Scandinavian, Ural, Altai, Himalayas, Drakensberg, all these mountain ranges. Now go for the alignment. Okay, what are the alignment of these mountain ranges? You can mention firstly about the north-south alignment. North-south aligned ranges such as the Rockies, Andes, Eastern Highlands, because it grows from north to south or south to north, right? Now, secondly, go for east-west alignment, such as the Alps, Himalayas, Altai, Appalachians, all these. Then you can go for the coastal parallel alignment, such as the Western Ghats, the Great Rewarding Ranges of the Australia. Then you can go for the curved one. Maybe Himalayas are a bit curved, so you can also mention the curved alignment. So try to mention all these different four kinds of alignments. Then what are the impacts? Always, when you write the impacts, go for the heading, such as here you have mentioned the orographic rainfall and mention the example regarding the same. So orographic rainfall, and Western Ghats receive heavy rainfall on their western slopes from the Arabian Sea because of orographic rainfall. Now, rain shadow effect, Sierra Nevada. Now try to go for global examples, okay? Because the question is regarding the mountain ranges of the world and not regarding India. So go for global examples rather than always providing Indian examples such as Aravalli, Deccan Plateaus, Eastern Ghats and all these examples. So blocking of cold and warm currents. Here you can mention about the Himalayas, creation of microclimates by altitude. Even in the Himalayas, we have different climatic regions, right? So we have Himachal, Shivalik, Himadri, Himachal and Shivalik, and all these places have different climatic regions. So the mountain ranges in itself form different climatic regions, sources of snowfall and glaciation such as Himalayas, and also we have several rivers such as the Ganges and the Yamuna, influence on cyclone systems, temperature inversion, formation of fog, wind channeling, pollution, monsoon, all these factors you try to form. Now, in terms of conclusion, what should you provide? Now, this is the most important thing. You can note all these points. So, since the question asked about the mountain ranges and also the impact on climate changes, you can go for the conservation element, okay? Either you can say the International Mountain Day, December 11th, have been recognized for the conservation of these mountain ranges. You can go for the conservation and preservation model of conclusion. So go for conservation and preservation. You can mention UN Sustainable Development Goal SDG 15.4, which ensures conservation of mountain ecosystems. It's SDG 15.4. You can mention the Conference of Parties Egypt, UNCOD. Mountain ranges were included in the adaptation and climate finance discussions. You can mention about the Mountain Partnership. Also, you can mention about the International Year of Mountains, which was recognized in 2002. It should also be recognized in the coming years for the conservation of these mountains. You can mention about the Hindu Kush Himalayas Ministerial Summit if a question regarding the Himalayas is asked. And also, when a question regarding the Western Ghats is asked, you can mention about the Madhav Gadkil or even the Kasturi Rangan reports. Okay, so make a prepared conclusion when the question comes regarding the mountain ranges, Western Ghats, and also when it comes to the Himalayas. Now, the second question, explain the formation of thousands of islands in Indonesia. So what can you provide as introduction? The Indonesian and Philippine archipelagos comprising thousands of islands like along the tectonic actively Pacific Ring of Fire. Their formation is rooted in complex plate interactions that continue to shape their volatile geography. So try to provide a brief introduction regarding the islands in Philippines and also in Indonesia. So then you don't need to draw a world map regarding the sea. But then you can draw from the eastern part, the Philippine Sea, the South China Sea, and all these areas, and try to mention about all these, try to draw a figure regarding all these islands here. Now go for the formation. Basically due to the tectonic plates collision and subduction, volcanic activity, frequent earthquakes, back arc basin spreading, submarine volcanism and seamounts, erosion and fragmentation, coral reefs, uplift and atoll formation, sea level fluctuations, to try to introduce at least 7 to 8 points regarding the same. And also in case of conclusion, try to introduce some level 2 model of conclusion, or try to innovate yourself here. Don't just provide a random conclusion. So here you can see a level 1 conclusion. This can be quoted as a level 1 conclusion. What is right? Despite the geographical instability, the islands of Indonesia and Philippines have supported rich biodiversity and human civilizations. This very formation reflects their nature to cultivate habitable lands from violent geomorphological activity. This is a very level 1 kind of conclusion, right? No significant thing is mentioned here. Now, but then what can you provide as a level 2? The level 2 can be in model of conservation. Though born of volcanic upheaval and seismic shift, these islands are now some of the most diverse ecosystems on the earth, from orangutans in Borneo to Tubataha reefs, providing a nature violence that can give rise to breathtaking richness. So you went for the conservation element here. Now here you can go for the disaster management model of conclusion. The tectonic origins of these islands not only shape geography but also impact disaster preparedness and development planning in these regions. You need to go for resilient infrastructure and early warning systems. Maybe level 2 kind of conclusion. Level 2, there was a recent volcanic eruption in Bali, okay? Like on June 18th or something, I guess. So the recent volcanic eruption in Bali is a stark reminder of this tectonic volatility that shaped these archipelagos. While these islands embody nature's grandeur, fragility lies for robust early warning systems. So go for early warning systems. Then also go for conservation element. While these biodiversity and beauty attracts global tourism, balancing with sustainability requires early warning systems, ecotourism models, and community-led conservation model. So don't just write a very general conclusions, rather try to go for conservation, sustainable tourism, early warning systems. So different model of conclusions. Maybe you can also mention sustainable development goals such as SDG 13, life underwater, SDG 14, life of land. So try to introduce all these elements, okay? Now the third question, what are the forces that influence the ocean currents? Describe their role. So generally, contemporary examples is not provided. Maybe in case any recent report is there regarding IPCC or something with regards to the fluctuation of ocean currents, you may provide that. But then if you don't have any contemporary reports, go for a very general introduction mentioning what ocean currents are. So ocean currents, both surface and deep water, and large movements, sea water plays a crucial role in regulating the global climate and maintain biodiversity. A very level 1 kind of conclusion, right? Now, what do you need to do? Draw a world map. You must draw a world map, okay? There is no exemption to it. In the last questions, some of the people who have sent their answers, who have shared their answers, haven't drawn a world map for even a single question. It doesn't happen. It should not happen. In case of geography questions, you need, it's a must, it's a mandatory thing, or else you won't get the marks. So try to draw a beautiful world map, not as the one I showed in the beginning, okay? So mention about the different ocean currents and all these areas. Also mention figure or cold currents. Now what are the forces? You can mention about the wind. You can mention about coriolis force. Always go for the examples also. You can mention temperature and salinity. You can mention about the gravitational pull, not a significant factor, but then still affects. You can mention about the continents and oceans, right? It's because these continents are there, the ocean currents get deflected. You can mention about the Arctic poles. You can mention it's because of the Arctic poles that the temperature of the ocean currents, they move along. So downselling and upselling, Earth's rotation, shape of the Earth, the curvature in the middle, all these factors. Now, role of oceans in fishing industry, nutrient upselling, temperature regulation, productive convergence such as the Eurasia and Oyasia regions. That is why the Japan has one of the most productive fishing sectors. Monsoon-driven seasonality, coral and reef ecosystems, fish aggregation zones, navigation and planning. So try to mention all these factors. Now, what can you go for the conclusion element? In case of conclusion, now I will be sharing the document with you, okay? So that's why I'm not elaborating on all these points, because anyways, I'll be sharing you on this document right now. So ocean currents not only shape the marine productivity, but also define the economic subsistence of coastal communities. Now that is a very general conclusion. Now, if you are to write a level 2 model of conclusion, you can go for. Now, this decade, international efforts like the UN Decade for Ocean Science, this comes under this decade. You can mention about the Argo program. You can Google what Argo program is. Underscore the global recognition of ocean currents. Okay. Summits such as our Earth Ocean Conference. Now, this is an annual ocean conference where different governments, NGOs, and different private partners come together for the conservation of oceans. You can mention about our ocean conference and frameworks like FAOs, Blue Transformation, affirm the understanding and conservation of ocean systems, especially in achieving the SDG goal 14, life below water. You can mention. Now, what are the keywords? Some of it you can introduce here. You can mention about the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. You can mention about our ocean conference. Now, this is due to the question regarding the fishing industry, right? If a question was purely regarding the ocean currents, there's no conservation of ocean currents, right? Since then the question came regarding fishing industries, you can introduce some of these. Global ocean observing systems. You can also mention about the World Meteorological Organization. So try to mention some of the keywords or any of the keywords in the conclusion as well. Now, fourth one, critically evaluate the various resources of the oceans which can be harnessed to meet the resource crisis of the world. Now, in the introduction, try to mention about the ocean crisis, or even say the crisis which is happening in the world. Okay, because it's a 10-marker question, it's very hard for us to introduce 3 body parts here, right? So in the introduction only, go for the resource crisis in the world, then go for the next 2 body parts. So here, what can you write? You can write the oceans covering 70% of the Earth's surface are a vast reservoir of renewable and non-renewable resources. Then mention about the resource deficiency in the terrestrial world. As terrestrial resources face overexploitation and degradation, ocean resources offer an alternative pathway to address the global energy, food, mineral, and ecological resources. Or else, you can, after you have given the introduction, you can mention the resource crisis in the world. And try to mention food crisis. You can mention energy crisis. You can mention mineral crisis. You can mention all these different crises, but not elaboration required because this is an implicit part of the question. Now, various resources and its potential. Oceans provided the fisheries and aquaculture. India is the second largest fish producing country. Biodiversity for pharmaceuticals. It provides various resources for the drugs, medicines, and all these things. Mineral resources, polymetallic nodules and sulfides. Energy resources such as offshore oil and natural gas. Renewable resources such as floating wind farms. Tidal energy, wind energy, desalinated water, especially in case of Israel, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Blue carbon ecosystems. Now you can mention at least 6 to 7 points regarding the same. And now the challenges: environmental fragility, technological and finance barriers, legal regulatory barriers, pollution, degradation, all these factors that you need to provide. Now, since the question ends with the challenges, you always need to provide a way forward. But then since it's a 10-marker question, you might not have the space to provide a conclusion, provide a way forward. Therefore, what do? You provide the way forward in the conclusion only. Now, what can you provide? You go for a sustainable initiative. So, while oceans offer immense potential to meet the global demands, this must be achieved sustainably through science-backed exploration governed by UNCLOS or international efforts like UN Decade for Ocean Science and Ocean Conference. Okay, harnessing ocean wealth must go hand in hand with conservation initiatives such as GOOSE, Ocean Predict, and Argo program ensures that resource exploitation is not there. Now, global cooperation, you can mention Global cooperation under forums like the Intergovernmental Oceanic Commission, summits like our Ocean Conference emphasizes the need for equitable, responsible resources sharing, especially the global south. And also another important thing is that when a question comes regarding the global issues such as the ocean currents, such as the conservation, in the conclusion you can mention about in particular to India, how it has affected India, or what role India is taking, or what are India's initiatives. Okay, so what can you do when it comes to India's perspective in case of energy resources? India also have some of the initiatives, right? So you can mention the same. So what can you provide? You can mention about India have all these different plans, right? Like Samudrayan, deep ocean mission, excavation of extraction of polymetallic nodules. So India's commitment to the ocean resource sustainability is evident in its initiatives like deep ocean mission you can provide. Recently, the International Seabed Authority has provided recognition to India for the extraction of polymetallic nodules. You can mention about the polymetallic nodules exploration in the Central Indian Ocean. Either, while India being one of the few nations granted pioneer area under polymetallic nodules by the International Seabed Authority, it must lead by example in ensuring deep sea exploration is aligned with conservation. Or you can mention India's ocean strategy through missions such as Samudrayan, marine biodiversity, deep ocean mission, in participation with UNESCO, can be a model for balancing sovereign rights. So you try to introduce an Indian element as well. Samudrayan, deep ocean mission, conservation, our ocean conference, life on land, life underwater. So there should be some kind of specificity in your conclusions also. Okay, or else the evaluator would give you just 4 instead of 4.5 or 5 instead of 5.5. Okay. So what are the keywords you can write here? You can go for Samudrayan, International Seabed Authority, Deep Ocean Mission, SDG 13. Now SDG 13 is life below water. SDG 14 is life underwater. Sorry, SDG 13 is life below water. SDG 14 is life on land, I guess. Yeah, so now I always have a confusion with regard to 13 and 14. I guess 13 only. You can go for the Great Indian Ocean Basin. You can go for UNCLOS. You can go for UN Ocean Decade for ocean science and also conservation. So try to introduce some of these in your introductions and definitely in case of your conclusions. So as I said, we'll go in this pattern. Okay, I guess this is better because it will help you to increase your content as well. Okay, so any doubts, anyone? You can comment in the comment section. Anyone have any doubts? Anyone have any doubts? Okay, so since none of you have any doubts, we'll wind up the session. Again, thank you all for joining. We'll see you tomorrow at exactly 11 a.m. with the topics such as the location of primary, secondary, and also the tertiary industries. I hope all of you enjoyed the session. And also, if you have not joined, if you are not yet part of Unbreakable Mains, do join the initiative. And if you like the program, do like it, share it, and also share it with your UPSC peers. Okay, so thank you everyone.